On today's show, the Boston Celtics have been one of the best offensive teams in the NBA this season. So why is their offense plummeted here in March? Why is Jayson Tatum struggling so much? And what is the biggest question facing the Boston Celtics ahead of what they hope to be a deep postseason run? It's all coming up right here at Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Next game, how about Joel Embiid to have more than 28.5 points? What about Giannis Antetokounmpo to have more than 8.5 rebounds? How about Chris Paul to have less than 6.5 assists? Or what about Jayson Tatum to have less than 3.5 three-pointers made? So what is Prize Picks? It's daily fantasy sports, but how does it work? Basically, you pick 2 to 6 players. If they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times back on your money on any entry that you submit. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. That's NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, you name it, they've got you covered over at Prize Picks. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. They're safe. They offer incredibly fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. So download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Joining us now is the host of Locked On Celtics, John Karalis. You can find wherever you listen to your podcast. Just search Locked On Celtics, including YouTube. Go to YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. John, the Celtics, I've been struggling a little bit here in March. Maybe not falling off a cliff, but we're going to get into it and try and unpack a little bit what exactly is going on with the Celtics here, because they're 5-5 in the month of March, including some really let's face it, ugly losses to the Houston Rockets and then the Utah Jazz. Honestly, some bad teams here. And these aren't exactly like blowout loss. They came down to the final possession of these games. What's happening where the Celtics are kind of unable to close out some of these games against particularly bad teams?
Yeah, I think perspective is important to start with here. Like the Utah Jazz were very well rested, right? They had, I think, like 4 or 5 days. They had a weird schedule. And the Celtics were coming in on a back-to-back from Portland, which is generally tough. They had no Marcus Smart, no Robert Williams, no Al Horford. So that's one. If the Celtics had taken care of some of their earlier business and were still a top seed and they lost this game, I don't think people would have really given it too much thought. But in the recent, little slide that they're in, it looks like part of the rest of the issues here. The Celtics have kind of reverted back to what they were prior to their run last season in January, when they started laying waste to the entire NBA. Prior to that, they were doing a lot of the same things. They were building leads and losing them. They were playing well and then going ISO. They were defending but not rebounding. It's all the same stuff. So I think the place where I land on this is old habits are resurfacing. And then the question then becomes why? And I think maybe there's some level of fatigue. We have questioned Joe Mazzulla's rotations and how many minutes he's played some of these guys, especially Jayson Tatum. Is it a malaise? Is it boredom? Have they kind of felt like, all right, we worked our butts off to get to that top seed. We just need to kind of coast a little bit. And then in that week off between the end of the regular season and waiting for the play-in tournament to shake out, maybe that's when they kind of get their groove back, and maybe they don't care where they're seated. Maybe they just figure anywhere in the top 3 is fine, and they feel confident in going somewhere on the road to win. But right now, it just looks like really bad old habits are coming back.
Should this Celtics team care about where they're seated, John? I mean, is chasing after the 1 seed or maybe hoping that Milwaukee and Philly drop a couple games here and there, is that worthwhile at this point? Or do you think it would be smart for the Celtics to maybe prioritize a little bit of rest and like you said, maybe coast a little bit between now and the end of the season?
I've been saying the seeding matters from the beginning. I've been saying that they want the top seed because, especially now, you look at Miami down at the bottom, and Miami certainly has their issues, right? But no one wants to see Jimmy Butler in a playoff series and Bam Adebayo defensively. No one wants to see that, regardless of all their other issues. Those two guys alone make it difficult on you. And if you're the top seed, maybe you get Atlanta, maybe you get Washington, maybe you avoid some of that. You kind of want that easy first round series. I don't know how hard, maybe you sweep Miami. I don't know, but that seems like a lot to ask of a team that might be, if Miami gets up to the 6th seed in that 3-6 matchup. I personally don't want to see that. I think the top seed matters. And then after that, it doesn't matter second or third to me. But I always thought the Celtics should be gunning for that top seed, and they still kind of have that opportunity because they play the Bucks in a couple of weeks, and the winner of that game gets the tiebreaker. So all you need to do is win that game, and there's still 2 games out. So you win that game and you're 1 game better than Milwaukee the rest of the way. And now you get that tiebreaker. So I don't know, maybe they know more than I do, but I feel like seeding matters, and I feel like they should be taking care of that right now.
After being one of the top teams offensively for much of the season, the Celtics in the month of March have kind of plummeted a bit down to like the middle pack of the NBA. They're sitting at 17th in offensive rating for the month. And a big part of that has been Jayson Tatum's struggles. His All-Star break numbers have just kind of maybe not plummeted, but they sure cratered. We'll call it cratered. Your words, not mine. What exactly are you seeing from Tatum? Because post All-Star break, he's down to 26.9 points per contest. He's shooting shooting splits of 42, 29, 83. And also, meanwhile, Jaylen Brown has actually kind of started playing some of the best ball of his career. Is it purely a coincidence, or is Brown's good play somehow like hurting Tatum out there on the court?
No. Brown's play isn't affecting Tatum at all. That has nothing to do. Those are unrelated.
Okay.
They've been able to play well together and combine for 60 and 70 points multiple times this season. They can play together, and the way the rotations work is very often it's Jaylen early. Tatum sits. Jaylen gets the handle the first quarter. Tatum starts to do some work in the second quarter, and then the second half kind of shakes out where it shakes out. Tatum is struggling with his 3-point shooting. He is a below average 3-point shooter this season, and it's not even that close. I mean, he's within a percentage plus at this point, but that's still a lot to make up to get to league average at this point. He's gonna have to go on a real heater over the final 10 games. And I think he is searching, he's pressing, he's really looking hard to get that shot going and getting away from the things that get him the rhythm, which is attacking, getting to the rim, getting fouled, getting some free throws. I mean, if I could pull the old college coach, I'd say, you don't take any 3-pointers until you take 4 free throws, or some kind of nutty stuff like that you can't say in the NBA. But I think the point is, I want to see him attack, because he's been so good attacking and getting to the rim and drawing those fouls that's an easy way for him to start feeling good about his game. And then the 3-pointers start to come. He's in a pattern of bad game, good game, bad game, good game, maybe a couple of bad games and a good game. So maybe that bodes well for the Sacramento game, where he can go and hit a bunch of threes, but he's really, really pressing, trying to find that 3-point shot. And he's getting away from the things that not only make his offense good, but makes the team offense good, because everything flows off of him. If he gets off the ball quickly, then the ball will move, the ball will pop. It'll find him again in the right spot. He just needs to commit to that early and trust his teammates.
We may have already addressed this through a couple of these first questions here, John, but right now, what do you see as kind of the biggest question facing the Celtics team heading into the postseason as they kind of hope to make a return to the finals?
Well, my biggest question is actually about Joe Mazzulla and whether he's developed enough feel for the game in real time as the game is going on to make the adjustments that he needs to make. I think as a young coach with minimal NBA experience, he really is reliant on numbers and statistical analysis to get him where he needs to be as a head coach, which is fine. But you need a healthy mix of feel. You need to be able to understand, okay, the flow of this game the numbers don't apply to this game because so-and-so is just off. He's slow. This guy's lethargic. This guy's not passing today. This guy's clearly worried about his contract, so he's going to be gunning. You have to understand these things in real time and make your adjustments in certain games. Or maybe there's something happening on the other side, like the Utah Jazz threw a zone at the Celtics. They've not played 1-3-1 all season long. They put in the 1-3-1 in practice before the Celtics game, unleashed it, and the Celtics kind of fell apart against it. And Joe Mazzulla, I want him to recognize these things in real time, but without the experience to have seen all of this stuff over the years and develop that kind of, oh, I recognize this type of thing. I worry about his ability to kind of adjust on the fly during the playoffs. So to me, that's the number one question above, can the Celtics get their offense back together? Can they start moving the ball and playing with better pace? Can they defend? Can they rebound? Maybe with Robert Williams back, they can get to a lot of that other stuff. But I need to see it from Joe Mazzulla, and I need to see him figure things out as the game is going on a little bit more quickly. And I think if he can do that, then the Celtics will be much better.
You brought up his name there momentarily. What is the latest on Robert Williams? When can the Celtics expect to have him back on the floor?
The thought here is he might come back for that Sacramento game. So it's been a hamstring issue. They originally said 7 to 10 days, which would have been back for a game or two by now. So it's a little bit longer, but everybody seems to think that he's just about ready. And with a couple of days off, they can kind of put him through one last kind of warm up workout. And he's been on the trip. And if they didn't think he'd come back on this trip, they wouldn't have brought him. So I would say anticipate him back against Sacramento.
Can the Celtics get their offense back on track before the postseason? Will they be able to make a return trip to the NBA Finals? Of course, you'll have us covered for all of that and more over at Locked On Celtics. John, I appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
My pleasure, Jackson, anytime.